Pleasure to finally meet you, Murray and Miho. We're excited that you chose us to help you with this personal journey of yours, starting your own tutoring business. We understand that there might be a little challenges and difficulties ahead, but a lot of opportunities as well. And we're here to help you understand all the difficulties that you may face ahead. Now let's start with one of the most important decisions that you'll be making, and that would be what business structure do you want to choose? Now in the New Zealand market, we usually see 3 different business structures dominate. That will be your sole trader, your partnership, and then your limited liability company. And we'll delve into a little bit about each one right now. Sole traders are individuals who operate and start their own business by themselves. No one else is really involved. So that means that they have full decision-making control and how they operate their business. That being said, one of the cons of being a sole trader is that you have unlimited liability, which basically means any debts or liabilities that the business incurs will be personally held onto you rather than the business itself. So like a sole trader, a partnership will only be started up by two or more people. As we can see, requires 2 or more individuals to come to an agreement on what the business will actually be and how it will operate. Any profit or loss made by the partnership will stay within the partnership owners because the partnership is not considered its own separate legal entity and it will have unlimited liability. As well as that, you've got your mutual agency, which allows each partner the authority to make a business decision on behalf of the other partners in the partnership. Now, your limited liability company, that is considered a separate legal entity to the company owners. And that is a good thing because that means that you have limited liability. Basically what that means is any debts incurred by the company, any debts or liabilities incurred by the company, you will not be personally held responsible for. As we can see here, right on that first point, separate legal entity meaning that all the owners and shareholders will not be personally held responsible. Now, after reviewing the statement that you gave us with all of your goals and your assets and stuff like that, we believe that the limited liability company or the LLC would probably be the best choice for you. Now, the reasons for this, again, as I said before, your personal asset protection. So your house, your car, your personal savings of $300,000, all of that will be shielded if anything were to come across your business, legally or financially speaking, any debts or lawsuits, hopefully not, but you never know. As well as that, we also know that you're probably planning on growth, just like any business, and just the 2 of you trying to tutor the many students that you'll probably be bringing in, that might not be a good business plan, and eventually you may have to hire more individual tutors to help with your job. This is a lot easier to do in a limited liability company compared to your partnership or sole trader. Additionally to that, it is far easier to gain shareholders with the limited liability company because you have more credibility and flexibility with your ownership. Unlike your partnership and sole trader, where the owners themselves are making all of those business decisions. We also have the tax flexibility. If you really want to, you can choose what tax bracket you want to be based on your business practices. I'm not too sure what the tutoring one would be. You'd have to do a little bit more research on that yourself. Now let's speak a little bit about the target market that you're trying to reach out to. Obviously, you want to tutor students, whether that be high schoolers or even university students, but you also want to be thinking about the company's future and also the scheduling that you'll have to work around depending on what you choose. For example, your typical high schooler will have school between 8 o'clock to around maybe 3, and which really leaves you only available a little bit after 3 o'clock, depending on whether or not they have their own part-time job or even a full-time job, depending on what level of high schooler you get. Also, with the high schoolers, you could also think about maybe tutoring them across their academic journey until they reach university or even within university, and that way you have a form of maybe a possible future hiree or even an internship contract available to help them further develop their skills and also give you a little bit of extra leniency with all of your work. Now, speaking a little bit more for the plan of the growth of the company, we want to be thinking about maybe even expanding the company to create new branches throughout Auckland itself or even throughout New Zealand. just for those who may not be able to travel to your building or even not have access to online services, or maybe they don't even prefer online services altogether. We also want to be thinking about expanding the service offering to enhance the customer experience. And another word of saying that is, I saw in your excerpt that you guys are primarily focused on the math and sciences, but of course you'll have the students that want to focus more on the English side, the linguistic side, or even maybe religious studies, history, things like that. You might need to even hire extra tutors to be able to do such things. Now let's talk about the company's financial management. Now, at the start of your company's journey, we do recommend that you use something a little bit more basic and user-friendly, something like Xero or MYOB. These are accounting softwares that have tools designed to help you track the company's income and expenses, generate invoices for you and your clients, prepare the company's annual and quarterly financial reports, which you will have to be doing if you start as a company, and it'll also monitor the company's cash flow, which is something that's very important. Again, as I said before, all the assets and liabilities and expenses that you may have will of course impact how you run your business. The assets that you told us that you had was the $300,000 in cash that you had in your savings account, your vehicles, your 2 cars, and of course that house of yours. In terms of the expenses that will be that you will have while running this business, that will mostly include the rent or the lease period that you've got for whatever building you decide to lease off for your business tutoring, and the utilities involved within that. So of course that'll be your electricity, water costs, all of that. Again, if you were to hire the tutors that we recommend you do, again, to enhance that customer experience and also expand the customer reach, you'll have to pay them salaries, another thing that is very easily done with Xero or MYOB. The liabilities that you will have when running this business are quite minimal. If you decide to get a loan from a bank or anything like that, that will be counted as accounts payable. Just something to think about. If you wanted to expand as well, you might have to take out a loan and again pay that off. So softwares like Xero and MYOB, again, they negate the need for an accountant straight away, just because accounting is something that you might need once you start to grow exponentially larger, and all that administrative work might bog you down rather than doing the tutoring. Accountants are also very good, especially for any tax planning that you wanted to do, that payroll that I talked about a little bit earlier, and also expansion advice if you don't feel confident in that sort of area. Now, to further push on that point, we'll have the 2 types of financial reports that you'll be needing when you open a business. That will include your balance sheet and your income statement. Now, let's start with the income statement. Now, the income statement, what it does is it shows whether or not you're making a profit by the end of the year by deducting the expenses throughout that year from the revenue. The resulting amount, if it is over $0, you will be technically making a profit. However, if that number is in the negatives, your company will be at a loss. So we're really trying to make sure that the profit or the revenue you gain is over the expenses throughout the year. On top of that, you've got your balance sheet, and that is a little bit more in depth. What that does is that shows you all of the Initially, what it does, it shows you what your business already has and what it is owed. Now, this will include the accounts receivable, don't really apply to you, but it also includes your assets and your income that you'll be getting from the students that pay for your tutoring service. And again, your assets, like we said before, your house, your car, and your $300,000 in savings. The balance sheet will also show you what you owe to other third-party companies. That will be the accounts payable, your expenses, again, like we said, your rent and your utility, any subscription program like Xero and MYOB, and the liabilities that your company will have to pay off. Thank you so much, Mari and Miho. It was a pleasure to speak with you guys. I will have to excuse myself. I will be passing you on to Preston, and he'll be able to explain the more technical side of starting your own business, and he even has a little website demonstration, and will also explain to you the processes of a cross-functional multi-chart.
Good morning, Mari and Miho. My name's Preston, and I'll be running you through a cross-functional flowchart for your guys' website. So we'll use an example of a student wanting to book online, which will be a big part of your growth scheme moving forward. So if we look at the start of our flowchart, you can see a student would like to be tutored by you guys. So in order to book a tutoring session, they would either want in person or online. I will focus on the online section for today. So in order to book online, the student will have to make an account on your website. So just first name, last name, and they'll also have to fill out some personal forms. So this could be the phone number, email, and age, personal details, that kind of stuff. Then they get to select their time slots. However, if there are no time slots available, they will unfortunately keep having to refresh or keep coming back every day until they can find a day that suits them and also you guys. Once they find this date, the booking is made and you guys will receive the information about the booking. Once you've received the information about the booking, you guys can confirm the booking if it suits you and send an invoice to the customer. There's a similar process for if the customer or the student comes in person and makes the booking. Only difference is they're coming into your physical tutoring institution. Now, once you've sent the invoice to the student will receive the invoice and make a payment either online or in person. Again, I'll keep focusing on the online side of things as it's going to be a massive part of your growth. So if they want to pay online, they can make the payment. If the payment is not successful, obviously they have to keep trying until the payment is successful. Once the payment is successful, you guys, as the owners, will receive the payment. And once you've received the payment from them, you can send a confirmation email. And once the student receives the confirmation email, their booking is official, and that's the end of your process. However, there are also a very, very similar flow with the in-person payments. So now that I've given you guys a brief overview of the design process for your website, I'll give you guys a quick little simple website that I've designed that could be used in the future for you guys or something you might want to use as inspiration. So some of the key features you'll notice in this website is its clear action buttons. So the first one, or the most important one, is the schedule a session button down here. So this is where all your students would go and make their bookings as mentioned in the process. And another very important one is the About Us tab at the top of the website. So this is all about you guys as tutors and as owners. So a little bit about what you specialize, your history in teaching, and what eMinds really wants to capture out of these young students. The next thing we'll look at is the responsive design. So making sure it helps engage the students and everything is clear and not jumbled up everywhere. The next thing we'll look at is the simple navigation menu. So same as before, all of the titles up above. So things like the learning tools that your students can use, the packages that can be offered. So maybe some extra curriculum that your students can engage in, and a little bit about your services as tutors. The last thing we'll look at is the contrast of the headings and the pictures for the website. So making sure it doesn't contrast with the background so it really stands out to you, keeps your students engaged, and also gives them a clear idea of what you're offering from eMinds and what your goal is with the students. Now, it's also important to mention what subjects are being offered. So as we can see up here, we are offering math tutoring, science tutoring, or a combined math and science tutoring. Along with that, we've broken it down into mathematics. This could be broken down into statistics and calculus, and you also have your triple sciences in physics, biology, and chemistry.
Thank you again, Murray and Miho, for letting us be part of this epic journey that you're about to take on. Preston and I are both very confident that this business of yours will make a meaningful impact on both your lives and the student lives that you will be tutoring. And we wish you the very best. And again, if you have any other queries or you need any support, we are always available.